Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's True Lies, brought to us by Beam Software and LJN. The game is of course based on the 1994 movie of the same name starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, and the game itself, even though it is made by Beam Software and published by LJN, actually isn't as bad as you think it may be. As we make it to the main menu, we're going to drop down to options. There are two difficulties, normal and hard. I'm going to play on the hard difficulty for this run. There isn't any difference as far as the ending or anything is concerned, just obviously much more difficult to get through with enemies and the like. As we begin level number 1, most stages in the game pretty much just have you trying to accomplish a goal or two and then make it to the end. Some levels have a boss at the end or a horde of enemies attacking you at one time, and other times you just end up making it there and complete the stage. As we begin the first level, you can see that there's dinners going on. There's a lot of waiters and civilians around that aren't going to try to attack you. In fact, no one on this first floor will. Just don't end up firing at anybody. Just work your way around, you can collect some extra ammo, and make your way to the first staircase. The game is very maze-like. You'll notice that most levels in the game involve trying to traverse a whole bunch of very small corridors until eventually we make it to the goal, so it's very easy to get lost, and honestly the hardest part about learning this game was memorizing all the maps. Down here in the right corner of this room we grab the key card, and you need to make sure that you have this in order to get through the door on the next floor, so grab that while you're making your way around the rest of the area. When we do come to the staircase and head upstairs, now we're actually dealing with regular enemies in the game. While you can stand there and take out every single enemy if you want to, you have unlimited handgun ammo, though when it clears out the 15 rounds in the chamber, you do have to reload. The other guns you can get, like the shotgun and the Uzi, have a limited amount of ammo depending upon how much you've gathered thus far in the level. Unfortunately, you have to get the weapons every single time you make it to a new level. You only have the handgun defaultly when you make it to each stage, which is a bit annoying for sure. However, I don't fight many enemies throughout the game. I found it actually much easier and had a lot more success at just skipping as many enemies as I possibly can. The dodge roll is extremely effective in this game and will allow you to dodge almost all types of fire from enemies. It doesn't help against explosions, and it doesn't help against flamethrower enemies, which there are an abundance of, especially in later levels, but at least for most gunfire, you can just roll out of the way of it. Enemies also can only fire in certain directions, so because of this you do have a little bit of leeway with your movement as far as tricking enemies is concerned to get them to fire into a space that you're not currently occupying. To finish up the area, we're going to blast a hole in this guy's chest with a shotgun. It's very effective at point-blank range in this game, though extremely ineffective from long distances, as to be expected. After we complete the area, we're now in the next part of the first stage, or first mission. Our only goal here is to make it to the bottom of the screen. Trying to stop us, of course, there is a lot of enemies along the path as we travel downwards, though, just like I've been doing, I'm going to keep on moving forward as much as possible and use my dodge roll to my advantage as much as I can in order to help me out. The game also has a good amount of health items scattered all throughout each and every level, so while I'll take a bunch of bullets by dodging around enemies, eventually I can run into health and get most of the health back that I may have lost during areas. One thing you also have to get used to is the changing of your weapons. While you press A in order to change which weapon you have equipped, if you're reloading or in between shots, you can't switch weapons, so sometimes it's difficult to switch quickly between like the shotgun and the Uzi, and it goes in order as far as going with the handgun, then the shotgun, Uzi, grenades, and then mines. Grab some more health and continue blasting my way through the forest, snowy area. There is the helicopter chasing us, but as long as we're able to kind of keep moving quickly, we're able to get to the bottom of the area, find this van, and complete mission number 1. Mission number 2 takes place inside of a mall, and it's a pretty big map that we're going to have to explore here to eventually make it to the next screen and the kind of boss encounter, basically a giant horde of enemies that are going to come and attack us inside of the bathroom. The first section does have some civilians, make sure you don't fire and hit any of them, and then when you start getting to the actual enemies, you can grab some extra shotgun ammo that we can very much use later on in the level, and then head up the escalators. As you can see, the escalators are properly working, so one is a little bit easier to go up than the other, but you can still go up either side. You can do even dodge rolling to kind of speed up the process if you want to do that. Do a few dodge rolls around this enemies and fountains, and then head down to this lower left area. There's of course plenty more enemies along this path, and sometimes it can be difficult with the enemies that kind of follow your movements and they're trying to block you. You have to do a nicely timed diagonal jump in order to get around them most of the time. There are enemies that I have to attack throughout the game where the corridor is just too small in order for me to be able to roll by them, and you'll notice them when I get to those spots. I usually am prepared with what gun I need and then get ready to blast them, so I'm able to kind of keep a nice steady momentum going. Because that's another thing. As long as you keep moving, enemies won't be able to catch up to you, so you don't really end up getting swarmed. But if you do slow down for a little bit, they can catch up to you, and it can be a lot of a pain in the butt to try to survive. After grabbing a little bit of extra health, head up. We can grab some shotgun ammo in the corner. We'll be able to get a few more bullets and another health item before we turn the corner and head north inside of the men's bathroom. This is our first real challenge of the game. You have two guys at the urinals outside of the main area where all the stalls are, and for this battle, instead of dealing with all these enemies and trying to kill them all, instead you have to destroy the doors of the bathroom stalls. This took me actually a couple of times of realizing finally that that's what I was supposed to be doing, considering there's apparently an endless supply of guys in those stalls unless you end up blowing open the door. Once the door is gone, it stops their magical teleporting ability, so they can't come through. After you defeat a certain number of enemies, this guy shows up with a shotgun, and it can be very difficult to dodge around his bullets. You kind of have to trick him to get him to fire and then quickly turn around and blast him with a shotgun blast as long as you're in pretty close range. If you have the Uzi against these guys, it also helps, but their shotgun, if they hit you at very close range, will deal a ton of damage to you. Once he's defeated though, and you've destroyed all the bathroom stall doors, we're moving on to the next stage. Unfortunately, there's no horseback riding scene in between those two particular levels. I think that would have been a nice little addition as far as gameplay is concerned. Instead, we end up now inside of the park. The park has a few keys that you have to find in order to open up various gates along the way, till eventually we can make it to the end. As you can see with the hedge maze, the levels are becoming a little bit more maze-like. Be sure to grab the Uzi on the left side here. While the shotgun is much more powerful, the Uzi can be more effective. You can fire out, of course, a lot more bullets quicker, but you also can hold down the fire button and change directions while firing a lot easier than trying to do so with the shotgun, so you can take out a lot of enemies a lot easier. Keep following along the sidewalk, which will pretty much lead you to where we need to go, though we will need to go off the path for just a few seconds. Located down here, you can see some ammo to the right, but along with the ammo is an enemy and the first of the gate keys that we need to collect. With the key, head on back and continue along this path. As you can see with some enemies with the handgun, you can kind of stun them, but even when you're stunning them, sometimes they're able to still get bullets off, so it's kind of really tricky taking out anyone, so that's a lot of the reason why I just started dodging in the game, as I was able to conserve my health so much easier than actually trying to battle every single enemy. After making our turn around this fence area, you'll go inside a little fountain area, and now you have 2 gates. We're going to first take the upper right gate and work our way through, eventually finding another key. Going up here will get you the shotgun, which is always useful for when you're going to have to take out certain enemies. Head on all the way to the right here until you make it to the far right side. Head up between all these trees. There are a couple of enemies within the trees sometimes, so it can be hard to kind of get around a bunch of them. As you make your way up here, watch out for this guy with the automatic gun and grab yourself the other gate key, and now work your way back to that fountain area that we were earlier. There is some health in the upper right corner if you do need it. It can be a bit risky, of course, to grab it because there is so much gunfire going on in just that little area. After heading back on over to the left and going through the gate, we're now going to go through the gate on the left side. We can grab the extra life there. That's what that little circular item is. In the next section, I'm going to have to take out these couple of enemies usually in order to try to get around because it's just way too small to try to fit through that area. I'm going to lure this guy down just enough so that I'm kind of able to dive past him. And the guy right after him can also be tricky to kind of dodge around. Over to the right here, you can grab some extra health and then head on down. You will have to take out this guy. I'm going to use the shotgun, which is one of the reasons I wanted to go through that other gated area in order to kind of get up here, and I can grab this key. Now we're going to work our way back around a little while before heading down a different path that will lead us to the next locked gate. Keep heading left. Eventually you will come to the end of the screen. You may need to use your shotgun or another gun while going up this little area because some of the enemies like to block that small path. And then work your way past this flower bed that's kind of sitting here. Right next to it's another little area like that, but there is some health before heading through a little bit of a small corridor. Just keep on heading on straight to the right, making an enemy in your path like this. If I keep dodging, eventually I'm able to kind of push him, force him to go a little bit away from me so I can get through. Head on over here to the left. Be careful not to fire any bullets at any of the guys who are just practicing karate in the park with a ton of gunfire going on. Just ignore those guys. And then as you make your way around, there is some health if you do need it, but with so much going on, I usually try to skip that one and just keep on rolling forward, as you can see. Once again, I'm going to keep trying to roll at this guy. Eventually, he moves just enough so I can get past and grab the next of the gate keys. Since they've kind of surrounded me a little bit, I kind of got to take out at least one of the guys, and then I'm able to continue rolling back over to the left where we were just a few moments ago. This section here will get pretty crowded. You can grab extra ammo if you need it. I have plenty of Uzi ammo, so I don't need to worry about it too much, though there is some health, so I will be sure to grab that before heading south here. Unfortunately, another Gatling gun guy, which can be a bit difficult to get past, but eventually you'll come to this locked gate. After grabbing some health, you now have a boss encounter. If you do it just right, you're able to kind of trick this guy into firing at the wall while you just blast him. In this case, I'm blasting him with the Uzi. It's a little bit difficult to do, but after a little bit of practice, I was able to get him to do that almost every single time I made it back to this section. You just have to kind of get in that right exact diagonal spot inside. Like, you're basically going to run into him at a diagonal angle, and that'll, for whatever reason, force him to more likely face the right wall. It's not perfect, but it's the best strategy I was able to kind of get with that battle. What game wouldn't be complete without a sewer stage? And that's pretty much what we got here. It's a very drab and dull level for the most part. Along with a ton of enemies, you also do have to worry about steam that's coming out of some of the pipes, so keep that in mind. Though a bigger threat later on in the form of a giant train ends up being much more of a pain. When you make it up here, this is where the train platform is, and eventually this is what we'll be heading on later on in the stage. But before we're able to do that, we have to take care of a few other things, including rerouting where the train is heading. To do that, you need to hit a switch, but before you can hit that switch, you need to grab an item. So our first goal is to go grab the thing we need in order to eventually change the direction of the train. This is a pretty mazy-filled stage with a few doors that will lead you to certain areas, and just is an absolute mess at times in order to try to get through it. I headed south first to grab the Uzi before then going right back up, and I'm going to head down this small little corridor. Now you can keep heading down straight, which eventually we will be down there because that's where the switch is located. But before we can do that, we're going to head to the right. We have to destroy this barrier, which takes quite a bit of bullets. Don't use any of your specialty ammo, just use your main handgun in order to get through it. In the next area, I'm going to try to take out that guy and watch out for the grenade guy, but then I'm going to have to head on south. A few guys in these corridors, I might as well just take them out since they aren't too much of a threat and they're just going to be more of a pain to dodge. In the next section, you have a bunch of boxes which are making up a little bit of a maze, but with so many enemies firing, it can be difficult to get through without getting a lot of damage. Right after that, you have a small corridor with flamethrower guys. Get down the timing as much as you can as far as being able to get past the flamethrower guys when they have that little bit of a window between when they're blasting out flame. Right after that section, though, we have the first of the train sections. We're going to be heading to the right, and you basically just have to keep ducking into the small little openings in order to avoid the train each and every time. If the train hits you, it is an instant death. After that section, you have another big box maze-like area for us to kind of get through. You're going to have to take out at least one of the guys here before you make it to another section with the train. Just like we did before, you're going to duck into these little crevices every couple of steps in order to wait for the train to pass you. After that segment, head on up into the next little area. Make sure you do a nice dodge roll over all the mines that are being placed around. Also be careful anytime you destroy a barrel or an explosive box in the game because they can completely wipe out your health bar, or at least a large chunk of it, if you're not too careful. Avoid plenty of steam as you make your way up the corridor to another one of the train segments. Wait for the train to pass one time and then head up straight. There's a whole bunch of other trains here. You're going to work your way up the upper right edge. There is a flamethrower guy, and right there is where we're going to have to make a turn. Right after him, there is some health, but there's another guy. Grab the health and try to get past the other flamethrower guy, and you'll be in a little bit more of an open area, but with another train there. Watch out for the train and head north over a lot more landmines. Sometimes the enemies set off the landmines, which at least is somewhat humorous. It also will pretty much kill any enemy if the explosions are anywhere near them. Thankfully, explosions do work quite well against enemies in the game, including also steam, as you can see there, will actually kill the enemies. The next corridor, you have a lot of enemies just in small little openings, but we're going to ignore them. Blast open these boxes and then make it to another train segment. Hopefully your train dodging skills are at their max at this point. After this section, we're finally near the end of this area. There is going to be some flamethrower guys. I'm going to walk against this box to see where the opening will be so I can get past. Right past them, though, is the lever that we needed to find in this giant maze, and now we can head back, and thankfully there's a shortcut. You just go down the stairs on the right side here, and where this ends up putting us out is near where we need to go in order to use the switch, so that ends up working a little bit in our favor at least. Destroy some of the boxes in this area, and then you're going to have to destroy the flamethrower guy. Using the Uzi is the best way. Just make sure that you're at a decent distance so that he doesn't end up damaging you. By killing him, though, you do get health, so thankfully after grabbing that, we're now going to blow open a barrier that's located inside of this wall, which puts us out here where we're able to grab the shotgun, as well as we are near where we need to go in order to use that lever. I had saved health earlier, and the reason why is so I knew I was going to be coming back to this section so that I could grab the health now, and I have full health going into the next little area. Head up in this opening, watching out for the enemy, and you will come to where the lever needs to go. You'll automatically end up using it in order to redirect the trains. We now need to head back and go to that platform earlier on in the level when we first kind of got to the stage in order to get to where the trains are there. Of course, if you defeated the enemies during any part of the level, they would still remain dead when you came back, but thankfully there's not that many on that section I needed. Now that the trains move, though, I'm able to kind of get through this area. Watching out for a few enemies, you may want to take them out if they become too much of a nuisance while you destroy that barrier and continue on. After the next room, you'll come to another barrier. I'm going to continue using the Uzi. Thankfully, I have a decent amount of ammo with it, and it really ends up helping speed up the area. Right after that is a ton of enemies, but you can avoid most of them just getting into the little corridor. You may take a few bullets as you destroy the barrier, but there's some health right before we head down the staircase to this room here, where we need to destroy all of these computers. Endless amounts of enemies will attack you until the 4 computers are destroyed. So my strategy is to kill the first 2 enemies that come in, then start firing at the computer while the 1 guys are kind of re-entering the room. Be careful of guys that explode. These suicide bomber-like guys will run towards you and explode, which will cause a massive amount of damage, but their explosion does hurt other enemies around them a lot of times, so that can end up helping. After using up most of my Uzi ammo, I'm going to switch on over to the shotgun. If enemies use explosives, they can actually help you out as far as destroying the computers and the like, including, like right here, I can use this guy with the Gatling gun. They keep firing and eventually destroy the computer, helping me complete the stage and move on to the next level. The next stage is easily my least favorite stage in the game. You're on this dock and you have to destroy all of the weapons crates along the way. If you make it to the end, destroy the last crate, and you haven't destroyed all of them along that path, you do have to go back and get the ones you ended up missing, which can be a little bit difficult to do so, and since everything looks identical throughout the stage, it can be very easy to get turned around and go down either the paths you've already explored or go down a dead end. The path that I'm going to take through this level, as far as I know, is the quickest way to get all of the boxes. We're going to head all the way right on this big pier. There is a ton of enemies here. Eventually, you'll have to go around a set of crates, and then you can kind of head down and get inside the area, which is where one of the weapons crates things are located. You may need to defeat the enemies in order to actually get to the crate itself. With that one done, we have only 11 more to go. Head back the way we came, dodging once again all the enemies as you make your way back. Once you're off that little dock area, head over to the left and then start heading north. You'll grab some shotgun ammo as you do so. The shotgun will help you a lot throughout the stage. There's just a ton of enemies and a lot of really small little hallways made up of the boxes. Up here is the next box that we're going to destroy. After destroying that one, we have 10 left to get. Head back down just a little bit to the right and then I'll head north from where that dock was. I guess you could get those ones in opposite order if you wanted to do so, but it doesn't really change much up. When you head to the left here, you have this big brick wall set up with a big opening. Right above that's 2 explosive barrels. Destroying them will reveal health, so be sure to grab that if you need it at this point. Work your way south along the edge of the boxes, watching out for some flamethrowers hiding in these corridors. You just kind of have to time it appropriately in order to get past the flamethrowers. Right past them, though, head north in order to destroy this box. There's a few enemies that will be guarding it. Once it's destroyed, we have 9 left, and we're going to continue on north here. Up here on the far left, there is a flamethrower guy, which can be difficult to destroy. You kind of have to hit him once and then immediately get away from his flamethrower. After a shotgun blast, he does die, and we're continuing along the north wall, which leads us to another one of the weapons crates. Once it's destroyed, head back to the left and down the wall we took to get up to that section. Watch out for another flamethrower guy before going through this small doorway-like opening. Once you're through there, head on north. There's a bunch of guys that you're going to have to dodge, and then you're going to go through another small little opening. From a distance, stand about here and keep firing north. Hopefully you'll be able to hit the flamethrower guy so you don't have to get any closer than that in order to safely get down the corridor. Watch out for a bunch more guys and potential grenade guys before making it up into the upper left corner of the map where another one of the crates is located. Head south here, go through the opening if you have plenty of health, but if you're low on health like I am, head to the left, and after dealing with a little bit of enemies though, you can grab some more health. Now we have a whole bunch of different potential paths you can kind of take through all these boxes. We're heading to the right through a lot of this area, watching out for this Gatling gun guy, and make sure that we destroy this crate. Destroying it, we now have only 6 more crates to go. We're halfway to the goal of the stage. As we head back down through a large amount of the boxes, eventually we'll make it around this corner, and before I head all the way to the right, I'm going to throw a grenade. And the reason why is there's that Gatling gun guy who I'm going to try to take out from a distance before I get too close. As the area right here is so small, he can end up devastating you as far as your health is concerned. Head just north a little bit, and then head to the right. There's a whole ton of guys through these, once again, very small corridors, but north just a bit and around you will find some more health, which is well worth going off of the path in order to get. Over here to the right, you'll find a missile launching guy as well as another box. If you kind of stand right here, you can fire into the upper right corner and destroy the crate without having to deal with the rocket launcher guy. There is an extra life under the box though if you want to grab that, but it is a bit risky in order to try to get past the rocket launcher guy. After heading north a little bit, you'll come to another one of the giant brick walls. On the left side, there is an explodable barrel, so destroy that, and then head on into the area. You have a few little areas here to travel to. We're going to head to the upper right section, going through the opening, dealing with the enemy, and then destroying another one of the boxes. With only 3 more boxes left to go, we're now going to exit that little room area and head on over to the left, going inside here to grab some extra shotgun ammo, but also grab some extra much-needed health. After having that, we're going to head south once again along the brick wall itself back to where we just were a few moments ago. It can be tricky to try to dodge past all these guys, so you may want to take out a few of them if need be. Using your shotgun is probably the most efficient. Up here, watch out for these grenade guys and destroy this guy before heading through a little small area, which once again will lead us to another one of the crates. Thankfully, we now have only 2 more of the crates to go after. Down here, there is some health in the upper left corner if you want to deal with that flamethrower guy, but a lot of times it's just not worth dealing with. Down here, you have 2 missile launching guys. It's very easy to dodge around them because one fires and then the opposite fires, so you just have to keep going up and down. To destroy them, though, I usually use a grenade. It seems to work the best since they really aren't moving all that much. Once they're dead, you can kind of head on down that little area. As you turn the corner, you'll have this opening, which has a few enemies as well as the second to last crate. The exploding guys can be a little bit hard to dodge. You kind of have to trick them into exploding and then quickly, immediately stepping a few steps away from them. A lot of times it can be difficult to completely negate getting any damage done. Down here on the edge of the dock, head all the way right. There's a ton of guys, but is also the crate. Thankfully, the rolls allow us to get past a lot of the enemies here. Once the crate's destroyed, though, it immediately ends the area. Unfortunately, though, it's not the end of the stage yet. The second part of this level, we have to destroy more crates, but this time on a boat. Start off by heading up north. There's only a couple of boxes that we have to worry about here. The first one is located right above the starting point. Once that's destroyed, grab the health and then head back south and now to the right. You'll have a couple of enemies in this small little area before it opens up a bit. Now here you can go straight or you can go from the north section. If you go north, you can grab some shotgun ammo if you need it. But the biggest problem is dealing with this flamethrower guy. A lot of times I try to get some of the grenade guys to take out themselves before heading around, and then you have to basically just step in, make a shot or two, then step out, then step back in, and keep doing it until the flamethrower guy's dead. Once he's done, though, on the edge of the ship to the right, there's plenty of more guys, including a Gatling gun guy that I'm going to hit with this grenade. There's a few other guys over here as well. Don't go too far to the right because there's a missile launching guy as well. Once the rest of the enemies are destroyed, then go close enough to where the missile guy is. If you stand right here, you can dodge all the missiles and deliver enough bullets in order to destroy the box. There's only one more crate left at this point. Head back to the left, making sure to watch out for the rocket launcher guy. Once he's off screen, you're pretty much good. Then head back around and go through this doorway here. You'll pop up on the upper layer of the ship, and just to the north, after dealing with two more enemies, is the final crate. The next level is set in China, and our goal is to find the nuclear weapon keys and then get to the nuclear bomb at the top of this area. Once again, more of a giant maze type of stage that we'll have to navigate in order to find those items and get through it. As we make our way around, we come to the first kind of big open area, and we're just going to head on over to the far left. You can kind of go a sweeping motion around the edges of the area to kind of get past most of those early enemies. Just to the north of that, there is some health in a small corridor, but you do have to deal with the flamethrower guy in order to get it, which is basically more of a pain than it's worth, at least at this point in the level, unless you're absolutely desperate. In the next section, you'll have all these trees in this place where you can kind of just barely see the path, work your way along the path eventually to the south, and when you make it here, you'll have these openings with a bunch of rocket launcher guys firing at you. Get past all of them, and you'll make it to this barrier gate. You may need to kill the other guy who's here, which the rockets actually come very much in handy, as I'm able to kind of trick the missile launcher guy to take that guy out. Once he's done, though, you do have to destroy the gate to the left side. Once you destroy that gate, head to the left, and there's another gate that you'll have to destroy right after. Up here next to this gargoyle statue is the first of the bomb keys. You do need to get 2 more in order to complete the level, but there are other keys that we have to deal with as well in the stage. Once we kind of grab that key, we may have to defeat a couple of enemies. To the left here, though, is an enemy that's guarding a health kit, so you can kill that guy and then grab that extra bit of health. Head up north here, you can grab some extra shotgun ammo and then dodge around the grenade launcher guy, grabbing the extra life as well as the catacomb key. Once you have that, do some more dodging to get past him and then head back south. After doing plenty of backtracking, we get back to the rocket launcher guys. I'm just going to dodge on past them still. And then once you make it to the gargoyle statue, head on south. We have the gate key that we're able to open that up now, so we can head down into this area. Head on down, watching out for the landmines, and then head right. It's a little bit difficult to see that there is a path, but there is one. And just north of that, you can head on down the stairs to this area. In this maze-like area, just continue to work your way around. There's a good amount of enemies. You will have to maybe take out a couple, including like one of these guys here, so that you can continue rolling through. Up here, you will find the shotgun as well as more shotgun ammo. You can then use that shotgun if you want to in order to take out a decent amount of the guys that are kind of hanging around this section. Once you're able to go right, do that and continue along the path. Of course, there's more guys that you'll have to deal with along the way, as well as a Gatling gun guy. Right past the Gatling gun guy, though, is an opening that you're going to want to take in order to grab some extra health, and then head up straight north. Definitely have a tricky area here where we have to do quite a bit of dodging. There's another grenade launcher guy that we're going to have to deal with. Go through this opening. You will have to take out the guy. It's hard to even see him, but he is staying there. You can take him out with the shotgun and then continue along with a few more guys as you make your way right. You'll have a couple of different paths you can potentially take, but you want to head to the right and watch out for a bunch of more mines that are scattered around, and you'll find yourself the key. This is the key for the palace that we'll need to open up the area just a little bit ahead of where we're going next. Once you have that palace key, head on south. There's plenty of enemies here. I end up going down for just a few seconds, but you actually want to head to the right here instead of heading south. Over to the right, you'll kind of have this little opening for this extra room. Head on through that, past the two statues, and then head to the right. You can grab some extra grenades if you want to do that, and then continue along the path. As soon as you enter the next room, though, there is a rocket launcher guy waiting to try to blow you up, and then you can kind of dodge in and out of the statues in order to dodge most of the rockets from all the enemies here. Thankfully, we're almost done this area. As we head back to the left, there's a lot of guys, but try to conserve your health if possible, because we have to deal with these two rocket launcher guys, which can be a little bit of a pain to deal with. Just to the right, you'll have them, and if you mistime your roll like I did, you may end up getting hit by one of the rockets, and you can see it does a decent amount of damage. Right past that guy, though, is another one of the launch keys, or nuclear weapon keys. Grab that, and then head up the nearby staircase. Since we have the palace key, we can open up these gates and all, and continue to the next area. Thankfully, there's finally some extra health, so we're able to replenish some of the stuff we lost in that underground area. Just to the north, though, you'll enter inside of this big building, which eventually will lead us to the end of the stage. On the first floor of the building, work your way over to the right. In these small little openings, there are a few of the flamethrower guys, which will be a bit of a pain, and then we can head up the staircase right in front of this guy. Once up the staircase, you can grab the item if you want to and continue through these small little openings. There are some grenade throwing guys, which can cause a bit of problems, but thankfully those grenades can also take out them. You'll come to another staircase, but you want to bypass that staircase and go into this little small opening where there's a bunch of extra ammo, as well as a couple of health replenishments, so you should have basically full health going up the next stairs. Once up here, just immediately go to the right, head up the stairs, and now you want to work your way to the left. The staircase there is where we're eventually going to be going in a few moments, but we first need to make a pit stop by going all the way to the left here into this area, eventually making our way through it and to the last of the nuclear weapon keys. There's also an extra life, as you can see on the left side, if you want to grab that as well. Once you have that key, just head back the path we already took and go up that staircase I previously mentioned. Once up the staircase, you can grab some more health, so you should have plenty of health going into this area here. Work your way around doing a whole bunch of dodges to kind of get around a ton of enemies in this section. This guy thankfully gets taken out by the flamethrower guy, but we need to get past him. Once we do so, we're going to head up this little staircase here, and then to the far right and go up this staircase. Plenty more enemies, as you can clearly see, and more health that you'll probably want to grab. Use your Uzi if you do need to take out some guys, because there is just so many of them, and it can be a bit tricky to dodge around, and especially when it comes to flamethrower guys like this one. Take out those guys below and then take him out and go up the next staircase. This is the last area of the stage. We just have to get through it and survive, which is easier said than done because of so many flamethrower guys and just small areas in the northern part. When you make it to these rocket guys, head over to the left. You can kind of stand right here watching out for the rockets and then work your way north. Stand at a good distance and take out the flamethrower guy on the far right, and then aim upwards in a diagonal pattern to this one and take him out. You'll then be in a very small corridor. There's a few enemies. Just take those guys out, and then you're in one last room with 3 flamethrower guys. Take out the guy directly in front of you, and then dodge roll past the last 2 in order to make it to the bomb. As long as you have the keys, you'll finish up the level and move to the next stage. The next level starts you off outside in like a desert base-like area before we're going to be heading inside of a factory. The factory has a lot of paths as well as these key cards that you need to collect in order to get through all these locked doors. But for whatever reason, the game designers put a small little opening near the beginning of that area that contains all 4 key cards that you need throughout this place. So instead of having to look for all the key cards, we can just go straight through the area because these key cards are located inside of a wall. They're also scattered throughout the level themselves in each area, but it really ends up saving a lot of time if you know the little secret about getting them early. Be careful while making it through this whole area. There's not only plenty of enemies, the flamethrower guys especially, there's also the flames coming out of the pipes or walls. Basically the same identical thing as the steam, just a different color. Dodge past a whole ton of the flames. Eventually you'll make it to the top of this area outside of the factory. Head to the left and then head inside of the factory itself. Once inside, head north into this small little corridor, and we're going to walk south, and when you get stuck, as you can see my character is now, I'm going to start firing my handgun into the wall. There's a barrier thing here, and once it's destroyed, we're able to find all 4 of the security passes in the area. Once you have all the key cards, head north, and then you'll have a barrel on the right. Destroy that first to kill that guy, and then you can take out the guy on the left if you want to before going to the right and making sure to grab some grenades as well as a very important health boost. Head to the left and destroy the barrels from a decent enough distance that you don't end up taking any of the residual explosion damage, and work your way through the small corridor. Once here, you'll see these crushers that are coming down, and there's a lot of them throughout the level. Thankfully, though, once they're up, you're able to easily dodge roll past them. Before we head north, though, we're going to head south briefly, destroy all these barrels, and grab ourselves the shotgun. Dodge roll past the enemies as well as the crushers. They won't instantly kill you, but they can do a decent amount of damage. There's health item in that room, but thankfully we have pretty much full health, so we don't have to worry about that. Head south here, destroy these barrels, at least 2 of them, before then getting on the conveyor belt and getting past all the crushers. Here is the first one of the locked doors. Since we have the security pass, we're able to easily get right past that. You're going to grab the shotgun ammo if you want to do so, and then defeat the enemy right below. You can then destroy some barrels on the right side and then head up north. Destroy the barrel first though before heading that way, just be a lot easier to make sure you don't get hurt. Just to the right and north, there's a lot more explosive barrels to deal with. Destroy them all, and then make sure you take out the flamethrower guy from a decent amount of steps away. Up here, there's a flamethrower guy that you can take out. I end up missing a bunch of shots against him before I finally adjust. Right past him, though, is just an extra life if you want to grab that here. Head south, you'll have a whole bunch more explosive barrels. You can destroy the big group of them here in order to reveal a health item. Once you have grabbed that health item, head back. Once again, more grenade guys and plenty more explosive barrels. We're going to make sure that we get past them quickly, just dodge rolling our way out. That way, if they end up getting hit by the enemy, the barrels won't end up hurting us. When you make it here, you're going to work your way to the far right. There's a couple of little dead-end paths with a group of enemies, and with so much going on, the game will slow down a bit during this section, which usually ends up helping as far as being able to dodge easier around most enemies. In the small opening, though, you will have to take out the one guy, and then we're going to have to take out the other guy on the other side of that small section before heading north, and there's a flamethrower guy waiting for us. Get past him, over to the far left, and then destroy all these barrels before heading north. Once up here, you'll have more crushers just to the north. You'll want to dodge roll, of course, your way up and unlock the next one of the doors. Now for this next section, start working your way over to the right. You'll have both crushers on the top portion as well as crushers on the bottom portion. Head on south past a bunch more. You have to really time it well in order to get past all these ones, and then head north. Just to the north is a flamethrower guy that you can stay against the left wall in order to destroy. Once he's defeated, then head past the next crusher, right into another flamethrower guy you can thankfully attack from a decent amount of steps away. Over to the left here, you can take out this guy and grab yourself some extra shotgun ammo, then just head back and south past this crusher. The distance that you have to get past can be a bit difficult to judge as far as the crushers on the right and left walls are concerned, but a nice timed roll you should be able to get past, and thankfully, even if it does clip you, it will only take away a little bit of damage. Head up north, you'll grab some extra health before doing so, and there's a lot of crushers along this little way. To the left here, you'll see another one of the locked gates, but we don't have to go up there. That's just basically an extra area. Since we already have all the keys, we can just ignore that and keep heading on over to the left. Along the way, there's more health, so we've pretty much replenished all the health we've lost, and we're going to head south and open up this gate here. Once you've opened up the gate, start heading over to the right. You may need to take out a couple of enemies first before doing so. Once it opens up a little bit, head on north and you'll be in this big old room here with a ton of enemies and conveyor belts. You have to defeat all the enemies that end up appearing here. Not only are there enemies on the conveyor belt, there's also enemies above the conveyor belt, which can be difficult to see. I recommend focusing on them first, if possible, just because their throwing of the grenades can be very difficult in order to dodge, though sometimes occasionally they do end up hitting their brethren and help you a little bit. Enemies will come also from the south area, so keep that in mind, including shotgun guys, which are a big, of course, pain in the butt to deal with. Thankfully, there is a little bit of health located in the room, so you can grab that when you start to get a little bit low, and then focus back on the conveyor belt guys. After defeating the first kind of group of conveyor belt guys, you then have to deal with flamethrower guys on the conveyor belt, which are even more annoying to deal with than just the standard enemy. If you do a nicely timed grenade, you can defeat some of them, but that can be a bit risky and difficult to do. A lot of times with the guys on the conveyor belts, and with especially the flamethrower guys, I try to shoot at a diagonal direction. It usually ends up leading to at least a little bit luckier as far as landing a couple of shots and watching out for the flames. Once you're able to defeat all of the flamethrower guys on the conveyor belts, you'll also have to deal with rocket launcher guys a little bit ways in as well. This is the end of the enemies on the conveyor belt, and them by themselves would be difficult enough, but you still have other enemies from below that are going to come and attack you. The missiles, thankfully, though, can defeat the other enemies that spawn, so I usually use that to my advantage before going back and trying to defeat the missile launcher guys. As you can see, you can kind of like walk along with them and kind of trick them into firing away from you. Unfortunately, though, my luck does run out briefly as I do end up getting hit by one of the missiles. Thankfully, when you lose a life, though, in the game, you end up starting right back from where you were. You don't have to go back to a checkpoint or restart the entire level when you do end up dying. Once all the enemies on the conveyor belt are defeated and the last of the enemies coming from the south are defeated, we're moving on to the next stage. The next level is the only one in the game that ends up deviating a bit as far as gameplay is concerned, as we actually get to control this jet and have to destroy all these vehicles on this highway. The main goal is the special vehicles that we have to destroy, but you have to deal with a lot of other enemies along the path. It can be difficult to dodge enemies during this particular stage. You do have missiles that you're able to launch out, but you have a limited number of missiles, so I usually save them for those trucks that we have to make sure that we end up destroying. Eventually you'll come to the first one, and I'm going to use the missiles in order to destroy it. Just keep on heading north, you'll automatically be moving. It's a pretty straightforward level, since once you destroy all the trucks, the level's instantly over, and it's not particularly long. It just is difficult to dodge so many enemies at one time, especially when the bullets kind of end up blending in a little bit with the road below. After destroying that truck, we have only one more left to go through this section. Just like with the other levels, though, if you do end up running out of all your health, you do start right back from where you ended up dying, so it's not too much of a loss if you do end up dying. When you make it to the last truck, they will inform you that you're at the last truck, and hopefully you have a missile left. You can easily end up hitting it in order to finish up the stage. It's now time for the final level of the game. It's basically a giant office building that we're going to have to travel through with a few different staircases and a couple of different paths you can potentially take. Thankfully, though, you don't have to worry about any key cards or anything. You just have to work out the best path possible to get through and then deal with the boss at the end. This first staircase that we're going through is not one that you have to, but going down here will allow you to get the Uzi located behind this little glass window, and that will greatly end up helping us out, and in fact that's the weapon we'll be using for the boss encounter at the end. Once you have the Uzi, head back up the staircase and head north. You can easily dodge roll over all the mines that are set up, and then keep working your way north past a whole ton of enemies. The flamethrower guys are able to kind of fire through, I guess, the openings of what was glass there, but you cannot walk through the openings, or I assume is openings since they're able to blast fire through them. Work your way along the edge, plenty of other little mines set up with the enemies, and work your way over to the far right. You can grab some extra Uzi ammo before heading up north. Right up here, you'll have some grenades as well as an explosive guy that will try to chase you down. Just run past him the best as possible and keep on rolling. Be careful, though, of the flamethrower guy who's waiting for you in these little small areas. Right past him, though, we're going to head up the next staircase. to the next section of the level. Thankfully, there's some health waiting for us as soon as we end up arriving. Work your way around a little bit, you'll see some Uzi ammo, grab that and then head north. Destroy the 2 explosive barrels before heading down the hallway. Don't worry too much if you end up taking some damage during that section, there's health right there, and in fact in the next room as we head south, there's another health item to the right if you want to grab that as well. Just be very careful though of the grenade launcher guy just to the south of that. Where you'll see some Uzi ammo on the ground, you'll want to head on down and destroy the explosive boxes just to the south. There's a lot of guys here, you'll want to take out the flamethrower guy from a distance if you're able to do so for both of the ones located here. Once those 2 guys are defeated, head over to the right just a bit to destroy another flamethrower guy, and then to the right where some more health is located and plenty of more enemies. Get past this Gatling gun guy and then head to the stairs up north. This is now the second to last area of the game. Once you arrive here, head north and defeat this guy who's kind of blocking our path, then head to the right and south. After you get past the red shirt guy, start heading on over to the right. You can see a lot of stuff that's set up, like building equipment and the like, and we're going to head up north through this section here. You'll have a whole bunch of boxes on the left and another staircase on the right, but we're not going to be taking that staircase. Keep following the room around. When you head south here, keep on going. You'll run into a flamethrower guy. Just wait for him to stop firing or take him out from a distance, but with so many enemies chasing you, it may be best just to try to dodge past the flame if possible. Right after that, there's a rocket launcher guy, and just to the north, there's 2 rocket launcher guys, as well as a few shotgunners waiting for you as well. So, very tricky area in Gauntlet, but this does lead us to the final staircase and now the final showdown. You do have a couple of more enemies before you end up making it, but once you enter into here though, you're going to run into the guy that we've been chasing the entire game, but you don't end up fighting him. Instead, you end up fighting another guy instead. When the battle begins, head north and destroy the missile launching guy in the upper right corner. This will greatly help us, and the rockets don't help us against the boss. For the boss itself, we're going to use the Uzi, and we can start off by attacking him in a diagonal firing pattern, and he won't move for a little bit, so we get a lot of shots in very early. A lot of this battle just relies on being in a nice sweet spot. You're going to take damage no matter what when attacking the guy, but your goal is to be in a spot where you'll take the least amount. Like for example here, he will hit me a bit as the guns kind of go out a little bit as he goes back and forth, but they only stay on me for a few seconds, delivering only a couple of hits. He keeps repeating this a few times before he ends up dropping, and once he does, we get to sit back and enjoy the ending to True Lies. So there you have it, True Lies for the Super Nintendo. It's also available on the Sega Genesis, and it's mostly identical. There's also versions that were done for the Sega Game Gear and Game Boy, though those are slightly modified from this one. And considering Beam Software was the developer and they made so many bad movie tie-in games over the years for LJN, this one actually isn't too bad. It's a bit difficult and hard to kind of get used to the control, but once you do get the hang of it, for the most part it's a pretty decent action game. With the special thanks category, the credits end up finishing up, and then it goes back to the main title screen where you can start the game all over again. But with that, guys, it's going to wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.